To break the man's spirit, a Japanese officer gagged him and tied his hands and feet. Then, they dragged his wife into a room and humiliated her. 3 seconds later, the officer walked out and ordered the man's student to enter the room. The student hesitated, but the officer pulled out his gun and aimed it at his head. With no choice, the student rushed inside. The officer's followers laughed as they watched the man's pain and despair. Then, the officer stepped inside as well. When it was over, the poor woman walked out. She took one last look at her husband before jumping off the building without hesitation. The next second, the officer cut the man's ropes. He immediately ran downstairs to find his wife. As he stared at the cruel men, he made a vow in his heart he would make them pay. One day, he noticed that one of the officer's followers had a strange habit. Whenever he passed a manhole cover, he would stomp on it twice. The man saw an opportunity. He secretly had sharp steel spikes made and carefully painted a fake manhole cover on a piece of paper. Before the follower returned, he and his brother swapped the real cover with the painted one. To make it look more realistic, they sprinkled some sand on top. When the follower came back and stomped on the cover as usual, he fell straight through. The sharp spikes impaled him instantly. The man then sealed the real cover back in place, hiding all traces of the body. The next target was the student. At first, the man didn't want to harm him. After all, he had been forced into this. But the student had chosen to follow the officer, spying on the man and even killing his own comrades. So, the man lured him to the place where his wife had died. When the student opened the door, he saw someone he thought was dead, his ex-girlfriend. Years ago, he had pushed his pregnant ex-girlfriend into the water, trying to drown her. But the man had secretly saved her. Not knowing this, the student thought he was seeing a ghost. Then, as planned, the man's brother loosened the edge of a nearby wall. Panicked, the student lost his balance and fell to his death. After everything was done, the man knew he wouldn't be able to escape. So, he went directly to the Japanese officer and offered to surrender. But he had one request: he wanted to be executed by drowning. The officer agreed, thinking it would make the man suffer more. But he never expected this was all part of the man's plan. The man had already dug a tunnel beneath the interrogation room and filled it with explosives. He surrendered just to make sure the officer wouldn't leave before the explosion. In the end, only the man, submerged in water, survived. His revenge was complete.